The shooting range. In this episode, pages of history, drone day, tactics and strategy, attacking maneuvers in air duels, and metal beasts, the American super tank. Today, we'll be talking about an American medium tank, the M48, thoroughly upgraded by German companies Krauss-Maffei and Wegmann. This tank can be found in the German tech tree at BR 9.3. After the upgrade, the M48 received a new engine, new composite armor, and a more powerful gun. The designers decided to call the upgraded tank the M48 Super, and with good reason. It received a new 105mm gun with a two-plane stabilizer and elevation angles between -9 and +19 degrees. Beside the main weapon, the tank has two 7.62mm guns, one coaxial and the other anti-aircraft, as well as smoke launchers. The layout is classic, with the engine and transmission in the back of the vehicle. The driver sits in the front part of the hull, while the other three crew members bake in the turret. And one of the most noticeable changes is the addition of appliqué composite armor with NERA, non-explosive reactive armor, elements. German engineers put in a lot of effort turning an outdated medium tank into a competitive machine. Thanks to a powerful gun and modern ammunition, the M48 Super can easily one-shot an enemy, sending them back to the hangar screen. Its main type of rounds, the DM-33 APF-STS, can pierce almost 400mm of armor from 500 meters away. And thanks to a set of modern tank conveniences, such as a thermal sight, the aforementioned two-plane stabilizer, and a laser rangefinder, you can have a comfortable battle at any distance, any time of the day. The new 1,000 horsepower engine and the new transmission give the tank a good uptick in mobility. It won't be the first to get into positions, but it won't lag behind the main forces either. As for everything else, it's still the same old pattern 3. The designers have successfully improved its mobility and firepower, but as for its armor, even the new composite turret protection can't withstand fin-stabilized discarding sabot rounds. That makes the M48 Super a second-line machine akin to tank destroyers. So, if you find yourself in a battle with heavy odds, use your smokes for a tactical retreat. When the backup arrives, you can use their armor as cover and destroy enemy tanks with your powerful APF-STS rounds. August 16, 1956. Early morning. Just your regular garden variety morning at US Naval Air Station Point Mugu. But one target drone operator couldn't believe his eyes. What he saw on the radar screen was definitely inexplicable. An old World War II F-6F Hellcat, redesigned into a radio-controlled target drone, had gone rogue. Just a while ago, it had taken off and gained altitude. But when it was time to turn towards the Pacific to be shot down during the testing of the newest ground-to-air missile, it suddenly stopped responding to commands. Connection problems? Negative. Radio-controlled planes just crash when there are no commands from the ground. This one, however, made a perfect turn towards California. This rise of the machine had to be stopped immediately before it crashed into some residential area. The closest interceptors available at that moment were the F-89s, which weren't much faster than the runaway drone, and were only armed with Mighty Mouse unguided rockets. Anyway, it had to be enough to shoot down the wannabe Skynet grandpa. The pilots had no problems in spotting and identifying the target. The Hellcat was taking a scenic straight route. The fire control systems of both F-89s, however, decided to show some solidarity for the drone and refused to work. So the pilots had to launch the rockets manually, and the accuracy was a little above zero. They actually managed to hit the rogue with one of the rockets, but miraculously it ricocheted. Another insurgent in the rise of the machines? Meanwhile, the Hellcat decided to make another turn, now heading towards the town of Palmdale. The interceptors chased it, sending one rocket after another, and missing with all of them. However, yet another unfortunate event happened. Mighty Mouse rockets were equipped with a self-destruction timer, so that they would blow up in the air if they fly long enough. But not this time. During the whole chasing episode, the timers never worked. So the rockets all fell to the ground, hitting everything in the way. Trucks, cars, windows. It's a miracle no one got hurt that day. After expending all their 208 rockets, the interceptors had to fly back empty-handed. The history of aviation had never heard of such a failure happening on the first flight. Having spent all its fuel, the mischievous Hellcat finalized its protest by crashing into a power line. Nowadays it sounds like a fun story, but no specialist could give a reasonable, or at least a plausible explanation for the incident, even today. Some say it was a series of unfortunate events. Others suspect sabotage, while some even suggest making August 16 a Drone Day, or World AI Rights Day. Well, why not? In this episode, we'll be talking about one-on-one air battles. For the sake of this review, we'll divide all actions taken in a dogfight into two groups: attacking and defending, which usually happens in turns. Today, we're going to tell you about attacking maneuvers in particular. Attacking maneuvers imply getting a flight advantage and then opening fire. For a successful attack, a pilot needs more than just firing accuracy. Getting into the best position in advance is equally as important. We need to remind you that in duels, head-on attacks on the first approach are practically non-existent. So one of the best ways to get into a good position would be flying below your opponent. Experienced pilots do their best in denying their opponent any advantage, sticking as close as possible to the ground. Later, such a situation turns either into a climbing spiral or a long circle. With the former, the winner is the pilot who keeps their speed better in the climb and thus comes out on top. In the latter, the winner is the one who gets into the better position by cutting corners. To achieve that, you can use the yo-yo maneuver. While in a lag pursuit, first start climbing, then descend under your opponent's plane of motion as if rocking your horizon, finally getting within the firing range. If the merge happens at a high altitude and the opponents engage a combat spread, you might employ the descending spiral maneuver. To get an advantage, you need to cut the corner a little by directing your aircraft's nose at a point slightly in front of the enemy. You need to be extra careful with it. Don't get too low under your enemy. Check the altitude and the distance to them. A correctly performed descending spiral will get you into a better position in the plane of motion. Now, if both pilots turn into the same direction after the first engagement, the duel is very likely to end up in vertical scissors. Vertical scissors is a series of turns where the opponents attack each other one after another. To perform this maneuver well, the pilot needs a lot of skill, low-speed aircraft control, advanced usage of flight controls, high fire accuracy, timing, and dodging enemy fire. When you're above your enemy during the scissors maneuver, it's time to open fire. To get within firing range, you need to use your elevators, ailerons, flaps, and even the rudder to roll the nose toward the enemy. The faster you dip your nose, the more time you'll have to aim. In case your attack isn't successful, for example, if you were too slow to roll, you'll have to defend, because now your enemy is on top, and it's their turn to attack. Try to go up under your enemy to minimize the distance. Use your flaps when needed. This will make it harder for the enemy to get within firing range and improve your attacking position when you're on top. To make aiming even harder for your enemy, right before they start shooting, roll your plane in a way that would reduce the area you expose to enemy fire. And now that we're almost dizzy from all those maneuvers, it's time to answer your questions. The first question was sent by a player called Doug McIntyre. Is there a plane in War Thunder that can go Mach 2.0? Many top fighters in War Thunder can exceed the speed of Mach 2 at high altitude. For instance, we managed to reach Mach 2.3 on the Italian Starfighter when flying at around 36,000 feet. Billy Bob 359 asks, in the British tech tree, which Tier 3 tank do you recommend researching first? Either the Churchill 3 is a great heavy tank with thick armor and a quick-firing gun, albeit a bit slow. The Achilles has a very powerful gun for its BR, while the Sherman Firefly is the most universal tank among the three. It has a good gun, decent armor, and mobility. Choose the one that suits your playstyle the best and research it first. And another question comes from Hiwi Fun. Do you get more Silver Lions if we are in a group? When playing in a squad, you can get the Teamwork Award when a squad mate close to you destroys an enemy, and the Supporting Fire Award when you assist your squad mate in destroying one. Each of them gets you 200 Silver Lions. Moreover, at the end of the match, the squad with the most of these awards compared to the other squads in the battle gets an additional 1,000 Silver Lions and 100 convertible research points. I Am Jabur writes, can you explain a little about ballistic computer usage? My bombs and rockets never seem to land where the computer indicates. To use the ballistic computer, you have to turn it on first. You can do that by using the multifunction menu that lets you access by pressing Y in the weaponry section. Alternatively, you can assign a separate key for it in Controls, Aircraft, Weaponry, Toggle Ballistic Computer. To increase your accuracy, you can dive at a sharper angle to minimize the spread of your rockets and bombs. And the last comment for today was written by Vrishank Singh. Hi Gaijin, hope you're all doing well over there. I have a question, which is the slowest tank and airplane in-game? Hi there. We're doing great, and thank you for asking. The slowest tank in the game is the American T-95 with a top speed of a mere 13 kilometers an hour. As for airplanes, the slowest we have is the Soviet Po-2. In near-ground horizontal flight, it can barely make 140 kilometers per hour. Once again, that's it for today. You've been watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment, and the next episode will premiere the following Saturday at 4 p.m. GMT or noon Eastern Time. Your orders for today? Subscribe and click that bell if you don't want to miss our next videos. Don't forget to leave a like and keep your drones on a leash. I shall see you next week. In a week. In 7 days. Oh, not that again. Bye.